Hello guys, this is Brian Tubbs coming at you with another video. Today I'm just working on a piece, just the upper piece for reaching, but it can be any piece. It doesn't have to be just for reaching. It can be used for anything. But what the video is focusing on today is that when I was welding this, just tacking this piece up. Let me turn it to you so you can see it from the side. Hopefully you can see that pretty good. But I had this laying down on its side. I had it laying on its side on a table, clamped down like this. And I had this upright holding this wall and this rear wall in place, making sure it's vertical. Because my goal with this is I want to keep this piece as straight as possible. I don't want it to twist at all. Because like I mentioned in other videos, when you're going to be putting pieces together like a puzzle, like I do with reaching and some of the other sculptures, I want the pieces to be, as straight as possible. Just so when I put them together, everything will line up and I won't have to be trying to tweak and turn everything back in a different way or trying to put it in some vices and trying to bend it and all that kind of craziness, because it really just doesn't work unless you put a lot of force on it. But my goal is to keep this as straight as possible. And so what was happening is I had it clamped to the table. I laid this piece in after I took it off of the English wheel, laid it in, pushed it down to the table, made sure it was fairly level with this horizontal upper section here, and I started tacking it. I tacked it all the way to this point, probably about maybe 2 inches apart on my tacks. And I was going to go all the way up to the top, but then I said, let me turn it over just to make sure everything is lined up. Because on this side, everything appeared to be, good. And I would look over, and it seemed like it was touching the table or really close to touching the table. So I figured it would be in line with the other side of the wall, this wall that's on the table. I thought everything would be lined up. I could just tack this side, flip it over, tack the other side, and then go back and do, the final finish welding. But then something told me to just stop tacking and flip it over. So like I said, I finished here. I unclamped everything. I turned it over. And when I looked at it, there's let me get my tacks lined up pretty good here. There's a gap here. Hopefully you can see that. There's a gap here. So the only alternative I had was to either cut all my tacks out, I'd have to cut them all, but majority of them I cut out, and so I can take and move the metal over until it touched the wall over here. Or I could have, like I used to do, take my clamp and pull this wall in until it met that. But what that would mean is that I am causing the piece to twist a little bit from the start. And again, my goal was to keep the piece as straight as possible. But if I had taken my clamp and moved this wall over to meet this, I would have been putting myself in the hole from the start. So I guess what the video is about really is, as you're tacking, when you're doing something like this, don't put your tacks really close and don't put a ton of tacks in, because if you run into a problem like this, you don't want to have to take, 1,000 tacks out. And what I did was I took my cutoff wheel and just put it on each tack and just was able to cut through the tack, and you can hear them popping as I was going through. It took probably about, I don't know, 15 minutes or so to cut these tacks, but I think it's worth it, because so now what I'll do is I'll just take everything and just kind of move it over a little bit and go back in and do my tacks. I'll do some tacks over there. I'll flip it over and do some tacks over here just to make sure there are no like gaps in here, because when I take and push this down, this metal moves from this side and moves over this way just by tacking it up here. And so my whole goal is to get this metal to this metal with as less stress as I possibly can. So I guess the key to this video is just when you're tacking, check the other side just to make sure you're lined up good before you get out, like I said, 1,000 tacks in, and then you look on the other side and you're short, because you don't want to have to be trying to smash your metal together, because you'll start twisting, causing your metal to twist. So let me, I'll just bring the camera a little bit closer so you guys can get a closer up view of what I'm doing. And I might have to take a few more tacks out just to get this to slide over this way a little bit more, because this wall is, I still get some of this wall sticking out this way. And like I said, I don't want to have to just force it. I want to just lay naturally in there. All right, let me go ahead and move this camera. Okay guys, so I want to do is just give you a better view of what I'm talking about with this gap here. I'm not sure how well you can see it with the camera being back, but when I pull this metal back to this wall here, you can still see this gap here, and I don't want that gap. I can force the metal over this way, but that's still putting stress on the metal, and it's still not completely over covering this this wall here. So what I think I'm going to do is just cut a few more of these tacks out to relieve this metal more. It's not bad, but right in this section here, actually starting in here, I see the metal, this portion of metal starting to come up this way. It's good here, but evidently when I first started, it was a little bit off, because as it comes down, it gets higher and higher above this wall. So what I guess I was doing, I was kind of smashing it down a little bit as I was going, which is not the best practice to do. And then when in here there's a little gap, I would put my clamp on here. Let me show you. Okay, the metal is down on the table, but when I put this clamp in tight for this, now the metal is off the table. I can put a pencil under there. That's how high off the table this piece of metal is, because I clamped it. But I didn't pay much attention to it, because I thought it was still, close to that wall that's on the table. So that's what you want to be careful of. So what I think I'm going to do is just go through here and just cut a few of these tacks out. Maybe I'll go to this point. So there'll be 3 more tacks I need to cut out just to see how it'll work. So I'm just using my my cutoff wheel. It's a about a 1/16 thickness cutoff wheel on my DeWalt grinder. So I'm just going to put it right on the center of the tack and just gently cut through. I don't want to cut over into the metal or anything. I just want to stay right on top of that tack, cut it, and you'll probably hear it pop when it come loose. You might be able to hear it, you might not. All right, well, here we go. I have my helmet on, my face shield, I have that on. And I guess if you didn't hear it, you saw it pop a loose. So now, what I got to do is just get it down to the table. Put my clamps on, get it to the table. You know, pull all this in. Make sure this is touching the table, and just start tacking it up again. But I think as I tack this time, I'm going to go to the other side. But what I think I'm going to do, I think it may be best to flip this over and just see what it looks like from this point. Because as you can see, I have not tacked this side up at all. I did all my tacks on the other side. Then I'm going to flip it over and do this side. But I think with the way this thing is trying to line up, I think I'll put some tacks over here just to hold it in place and kind of just flip back and forth. I think that'll be the best way to go. And the whole thing here, guys, is just trying to make sure this thing lines up as it goes up this piece. I don't want it to tweak. I don't want this piece tweaked at all. I mean, as much as I can keep it from tweaking, that's what I want to do. So let me just put a little clamp on here. There shouldn't be much stress down here, so it shouldn't be difficult to clamp it. But this should help it line up better. So let me go ahead and put a couple of tacks on. Going about every 1.5 inches, about 2 inches, something like that. And I can even take my hand and just squeeze it together and it'll hold. The metal is moving. So I know there's not a lot of stress here. There's a little area right there. I'm gonna put a clamp on there just to kind of pull it in a little bit. There's a little gap right there. Nothing major, just small little gap right there. So what I'll do is I'll kind of tack up to the place where I was on the opposite side. Let me do a little test here. Just lining up pretty good so far. So I'll put another tack here. So I'll probably just do some tacks on this side, because this is the side I was having more problem with. So I'll just kind of tack this side up. Just making sure I don't, I just kind of get ahead of myself. And tack this side up, and then the other side comes away. So I just gotta be careful. So as I'm tacking, I'm just kind of feeling, making sure they're somewhat level. And so this is what you do, guys, which I didn't do. I'm not sure why I didn't do it. I was just kind of rushing, I guess, and I didn't go through my usual process of doing a little bit, flipping it, but it's like that sometimes. And now I can see the bottom of this off the table now, so now I got to flip it over and tack the side over here in this area. Because now I have tension, a little bit of tension here, it wants to pull away from the other side that doesn't have the tack. So let me flip it over and see what I can do here. See what I see. So this is what you have to do sometime, guys, to get these things lined up. Sometimes it'll fall into place, and sometimes not. So I'll go through here and just hit right here, because this is where I cut my last tack. And I'm making sure this is on the table. I want to hear it sliding against the table. And as you guys see, my tacks are 2 inches, sometimes some places 2.5 inches. I don't want to put too many tacks on there, because like I said, if I have to go back in and make adjustments, I don't want to cut 1,000 tacks out. I'll do a couple more here and I'll flip it over. Do one more. Well, maybe I'll flip this. Well, maybe I'll flip it over and do a tack opposite this one on the other side, just to make sure it's lined up. So I'm going to just pull it in here. When I pull that, this is going to raise up just a little bit. And once this is all done, I'm not sure if I'll do it on camera or not, but I'll be TIG welding this up. But I'll weld a little bit in a certain area, and I'll move, weld someplace else, or hop the other side, just to try and keep it, like I say, as flat as possible. I won't just weld the whole thing up in like one run. I'll be kind of skipping around. I can hear it on the table, so I must be doing okay. And when I run my clamps, I don't run it too far from that other tag, because I want this to be fairly tight, because I'll be TIG welding it. Like I said before, if I was going to be MIG welding it, I'll leave a little gap in there about the thickness of my my 035 MIG wire. But with me TIGging it, I'm gonna go ahead and just put it pretty tight. I'm getting a little bit high here. This wall is extending up just a little bit, so I'm gonna go to the other side and pull that in and tack that side now. Make sure there's no debris under here, so it's laying flat on the table. So what I'll do now is I'll clamp this, squeeze it, pull it back. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and close this side out now, because I think it lines up pretty good now. All right, getting there. Motor is starting to arc a little bit. So I got this buildup inside of that head. So I got to clean that out. Because now this is touching the weld tip when I pull the trigger, and it's kind of arcing. You can hear that. So let me clean this out. I'm using my my Lincoln 140 to do this job, because I have my stainless steel wire in my Lincoln welder. Hit this spot again. Sounds better. I'm going to take it all the way up to this point. All right, I'll flip it over. I'll go ahead and finish it out in this area here. Almost there now. Close this off. Okay guys, so what I'm gonna do now is I want to know, is this level with this? So I'm gonna do is look, because I know these are straight, because I use one of these squares when I cut it, so it's fairly straight. It's not perfectly straight or anything like that, but it's fairly straight. So when I look down this to that end, I want to see that if they're fairly level. And it looks pretty good from here. It looks pretty good from here. Now, had I looked down from here to there, and this being level, if that was on an angle this way or the opposite way, then I will know right away that this piece tweaked or twisted when I was tacking it up. And if that was the case, I would have to go through and cut all my tack welds, or cut the amount of tack welds I need to cut in order for it to straighten back out. And then I have to go back through, get everything lined up again, and start tacking it again, trying to keep it straight. But I came out pretty good this time, because when I look from here down, it's almost, it's as good as you can get it, really. So that's how you want to do it, guys. Like I say, when I flipped it, I noticed that gap, and I said, wait, I'm not going to smash this wall in to meet this, because I'm going to start twisting the piece myself. So it's best to just go back start cutting your tacks and redoing it. And like I said, when you're tacking, I mean, if you don't care whether there's a little bit of twist to it or not, that's just fine. You can go and just tack, put as many tacks in as you need to get your piece tacked up. But if you're doing something like this, just go through and do as few tacks as you can until you get everything, you know, connected, and then you go back and run your tacks tighter. You know, I can put a tack between here, all over, and you know, and so on. Just tighten it up a little bit more. So I'm going to be doing that anyway, but I mean, it's not necessary for me to show you guys, you know, that, because I showed you, I think on my last video when I was doing the donut, how I put tacks maybe an inch apart when I want to do something like that. And on here, I'll be doing the same thing, about an inch apart on the tacks, all over, because I want to keep it as tight as I can, so when I start welding, it won't have areas, like if I leave it like this, and I weld this side over here, this wall can start moving. And when I get done, you'll have a bunch of waves in it. And like I said, I talked about that in the video, I think it was like 2 videos ago, I think it was, when I was welding up the donut. All right, guys, so I just want to just kind of give you a heads up. If you see something like that happening, to stop, go back, cut your tacks, go back in, redo it, unless it doesn't matter. Then you can just go ahead and put your clamp on that wall, smash the wall in, and attach it to that, and go ahead and weld it up, however you want to do it. But just a little heads up when you're doing something like this. And now, before I close the video out, before I weld this piece up, as you can see, there's an opening in here. There's nothing there yet. So what I'm going to be doing, before I weld this up, I'm going to cut this excess material off here. I'm going to get another piece to go inside of here. I'm going to cap it off. But what I'm going to do is just tack this piece on, maybe here, 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 and a few places down the side, and then on the bottom a few places on both sides, here and here. I'm not going to weld it completely on, because I got to take it back off later on in the project. But if you have this opening here and you weld this piece up without putting something here, this piece is going to twist, because there's nothing here to keep it from twisting. So if you ever do something like this and you want to, you know, keep it fairly straight, make sure you put a piece in here, just a filler piece, tack it in, and then you weld up, because it's more difficult for this thing to twist if you have a piece in here that's tacked in. So like I said, I'll be cutting this excess off here, and this up here, I'll be cutting that off, and I got to weld this upper portion to the bottom. And I'll do that as well before I weld the whole thing up, because I want it to be solidly tacked everywhere before I start welding it, or it will twist. All right, guys, well, that's the piece put together, you know, for the most part. There's no twisting in it, which is wonderful to me, because I can't have twisting in this. All right, well, that's going to do it for this video, and I hope to see you on the next one. Well, I'll probably be doing something else with this. I might be just running some, you know, some beads here and there, just kind of show you how I do it, just to keep it from twisting too much. So I might be doing that on the next one. But I appreciate you guys checking this one out. And as usual, peace out.